I refused to punish or allow my wife to punish our son, and what happened next changed everything. My wife Jessica and I have been married for 8 years, and we have a 12-year-old son named Tyler. Now, Tyler's always been a good kid, gets decent grades, helps around the house without being asked, never really gets into trouble, but Jessica has always been super strict with him, like grounding him for a week if he forgets to put his plate in the dishwasher kind of strict. One Saturday morning, I was in the garage working on my truck when I heard Jessica yelling from inside the house. I could tell she was pissed, so I dropped my wrench and went to see what was going on. I found her in Tyler's room, holding his phone and looking like she was about to explode. "He's been texting his friends about how unfair I am," she said, shoving the phone in my face. "Look at this conversation with his friend Jake. He called me controlling and said he wishes he could live somewhere else." I read through the messages, and honestly, it was pretty typical 12-year-old stuff. Tyler was venting to his friend about having to be home by 6 on weekends while other kids got to stay out later. He said Jessica was way too strict and that he felt like he was walking on eggshells all the time. The worst thing he said was that he sometimes wondered what it would be like to live with his cool uncle instead. "Jessica, he's just blowing off steam to his friend," I told her. "Every kid complains about their parents. Remember when you used to call your mom a dictator when you were his age?" But she wasn't having it. "This is disrespectful, and he needs to learn there are consequences. I'm taking his phone for a month, grounding him for 2 weeks, and he's doing extra chores." That's when I stepped in and said no. I told her that reading his private messages was already crossing a line, and that punishing him for having normal feelings would only make things worse. Tyler wasn't being malicious or plotting anything dangerous. He was being a regular kid who needed to vent. Jessica lost it. She started screaming that I was undermining her authority and that Tyler would grow up to be disrespectful if we didn't nip this in the bud. I stayed calm and told her I wouldn't allow her to punish him for this, and that if she tried, I'd step in to stop it. The next few days were tense as hell. Jessica kept making passive-aggressive comments about how I was raising a spoiled brat, and how Tyler would never respect authority. Meanwhile, Tyler seemed confused about why his mom was giving him the cold shoulder, but was clearly relieved he wasn't in trouble. Then, something interesting happened. Tyler came to me that Wednesday after school and asked if we could talk. We sat on the back porch, and he said he felt bad about what he'd written to Jake. Not because he got caught, but because he realized his mom was just trying to look out for him, even if her methods were intense. "Dad, I know Mom read my messages, and I know you guys fought about it," he said. "I want to apologize to her, but I also want to talk about maybe finding a middle ground on some of the rules." I was blown away by how mature he was being. So that evening, I suggested we all sit down and have a family meeting. Jessica was hesitant at first, but Tyler asked her directly if they could talk things through. What happened next surprised everyone, especially Jessica. Tyler apologized for calling her controlling, but then he calmly explained how some of the rules made him feel like she didn't trust him. He gave specific examples, like how he was the only kid in his friend group who had to be home before dinner on weekends, or how he needed permission to text his friends after 8 p.m. Instead of getting defensive, Jessica actually listened, and for the first time, I watched her really hear what our son was saying. She admitted that maybe she had been a little too strict, and that some of her rules came from her own anxiety about keeping him safe rather than what was actually reasonable. They ended up negotiating new rules together. Tyler could stay out until 7 on weekends if he checked in every hour. He could text friends until 9 on school nights and 10 on weekends. In exchange, he'd keep his grades up and continue helping around the house without being asked.